So the spaces that haven't been getting as much attention, and I'm going to focus my answer solely on multifamily because that's really my specialty. Um, but there are some unique product types that are springing forth within multifamily that haven't really gained a ton of traction with the institutional investors, and that's the way it normally goes, by the way. But they are really compelling, and I'm talking about things like active adult, which is like 55 plus communities, and build to rent is starting to become very attractive. Institutional capital is starting to notice these niche product types within multifamily, in large part because in the somewhat limited history that we have with them, the thesis is proving out that there are better risk-adjusted returns within those sectors than there are perhaps with broader multifamily. And certainly, when you broaden it out even further to commercial real estate and you include office, retail, hospitality, industrial's done quite well for the last decade or so. Industrial and multifamily are the two strongest asset classes. But when you compare industrial and multifamily to everything else, there's really no debate about where the best risk-adjusted returns are. There's a few that jump to mind that I've worked with in the last few years. There's a group called Asta Capital, which is actually based out of Mexico City. There's a group called Blaze Partners, which is based out of Charleston, South Carolina. A group called Gallium Capital, which is based in Miami. And then another one that comes to mind is IMT Capital, which is based in Los Angeles. Those are all representative of firms that did very well in the last cycle, but they still aren't massive. And so their founders still have a lot to achieve themselves, and they need talented people to help them achieve that. The job market right now for real estate students is challenging, but it's challenging for everybody right now. So I would suggest that nobody lose faith. The good news for people who are graduating with degrees right now is that you almost certainly will be the cheapest labor in the labor force. And at times when firms are looking to minimize headcount and minimize costs, there's still plenty of intrinsic value in recent graduates. Unfortunately, a lot of the larger institutions seem to be on hiring freezes, and I'm talking about the banks generally. So the banking jobs that were available a few years ago probably aren't there, and they probably won't be there for another year or two. So my advice would be to look a little bit harder than you would have had to in the past, because there are some diamonds in the rough. There are a lot of smaller to medium-sized firms that at the end of the last cycle, right before interest rates really started to rise dramatically, they did very, very well. They sold big portfolios. They raised a fund, their first or their second fund, and they have money to grow. They've not become complacent yet. They're not reliant upon fees that they would achieve from legacy funds. So they're very, very invested right now in growth, and they would be very, very interested to have talented, thoughtful, hardworking people who could join them and help them grow. The market is certainly dynamic, and the strategies that we're recommending to our clients aren't vastly different than what we were recommending 6 months ago, but they are vastly different from what we were recommending a year or two ago. The market has shifted so dramatically, in large part because of the run-up in interest rates, that the really brilliant clients are the ones who capitalized on the capital markets a year ago. The smart ones are the ones who did it 6 months ago, and the ones who are still waffling and trying to decide what to do, their options have dwindled. And I think most of them wish that they had acted earlier this year or last year. But unfortunately, as interest rates have continued to rise and liquidity has dried up somewhat, those options have disappeared. And so what's been left of those clients isn't nearly as attractive as it was in the prior months and year.